Since it's the time of Lent, I'd like to talk a little bit about the Jesuits and different instances where those three pillars of Lent, prayer, almsgiving, and fasting, have shown up in the lives of Jesuits. I'd like to begin with this almsgiving, but in a particular way. Um, when I was in Phoenix years ago and I was on the board of Catholic Charities, they had begun a very Catholic Social Services, I think we called it then. They had begun or helped to sponsor a very beautiful work, which was a house, a halfway house kind of, for women who were leaving the sex trade because they had such unique needs and they needed a place to go where they could receive both treatment and also help with those unique needs. And I couldn't help but remember how that had been one of the earliest works of the Jesuits, that St. Ignatius started what he called the Casa Santa Marta in Rome, where women who were leaving the sex trade or perhaps even leaving being concubines to wealthy patrons would be able to go and receive the many things that they needed. He had sponsors for it, cardinals and bishops and wealthy people, because he knew he needed to get the whole society as best he could, the whole the people in Rome with power to help him, because the sex trade was too advantageous for too many people. And in fact, the Jesuits ran into controversy when a particularly powerful person found that he was without his concubine because she'd moved into that house, and he began to spread salacious rumors about the Jesuits in that place. And St. Ignatius, in his usual way, made the rumors public and had them proven wrong, and continued on with that work. But what was interesting about the Casa Santa Marta is that there was another place that women leaving the sex trade could go, and could have gone there for 15 years, but it required that they become a form of religious and live in kind of isolation and in cloister away from people. And Ignatius knew that that was not the vocation of many of the women who wanted to leave the sex trade. And so he brought them in there, and they had the chance to receive dowries if they wanted to remarry, training if they wanted to go into domestic service, and of course they could go into religious life too. So it was a program that was more extensive, and even if they had daughters, they would receive dowries in order that they wouldn't follow their mothers into that trade. And he even began another house with other religious groups for women who were moving in that direction because of poverty or whatever, and they could go stay there before they actually fell into the sex trade. So what I want to talk about very briefly is this is almsgiving that changes lives. It's not just providing handouts to people. There is great need for just charity. When things happen, people need that. But when we look at how to resolve problems and help people to become the agents of their own change, almsgiving can be really helpful, or spending our time in those programs that lift people, onto their own feet, and they walk very beautifully in their own path. It's a wonderful thing in almsgiving to think about this Lent, whether you are moved in one way or another to find such a place that actually provides the help to make the change for the people who need those changes to take place. And that's the wisdom that I get from some of my older brothers, way older brothers in the Society of Jesus.